Another burning question that we get is why Madeira over the Algarve? We asked our Patreon subscribers to submit questions for a Q&A, and they're super interesting, and we're going to share all their answers with you right now.
Burning questions?
Yeah. Welcome to Track Us Down. Today we answer your burning questions, including why Madeira over the Algarve? The first question we have gotten several times, had we visited Madeira before we moved?
We had not visited Madeira before we moved here. We always knew we were going to retire to Portugal. After doing all our research, we actually thought that we were going to do year by year renting, 1 year in Lisbon, 1 year in Porto, and just kind of move around. And then we decided, let's start it on an island. After we discovered Madeira, just like you guys are discovering Madeira, we did as well. So we thought we'd start here. And then after a few months of our first year of renting, we decided and we realized that Madeira was the place for us as far as a base to go out and travel into the world. And we ended up staying here, but we hadn't done a scouting trip. We hadn't looked at properties before we came here. We just started by renting and living here and just getting a feel for the island.
And I think that's a good way to start. Sometimes renting to begin with sort of gets your feet on the ground and you sort of get a vibe for all the different places. So that's how we did it.
Another question that we had from our Patreon supporters was that they knew people from Canada who had to return after 6 months, and they weren't sure if that was due to citizenship reasons, or they were asking us if that was the same for us, if we had to return after 6 months.
So for us, that's a no, as we are now residents of Portugal, so we are not residents of Canada. People who are residents of Canada can be out of the country for a certain amount of time, and then in order to keep their healthcare going and different things like that, they do need to return to Canada. So for us, that's not the case.
And I think it's more to do with tax residency.
Exactly.
If you spend more than 6 months of the year, you become a tax resident of the country that you're in. We're tax residents of Portugal now because we're residents of Portugal, so we don't have to return after 6 months.
Another burning question that we get is, what are you going to do after 10 years of the NHR program? So for 10 years, we are under the NHR program where we're paying only 10% taxes in Portugal, depending on what we pay back in Canada, which would be the same for Americans. If you're paying taxes in America, then if you pay more than 10%, you would owe nothing to Portugal. You'd still file taxes though. So after that tax scheme is done after 10 years, we're often asked, what's our plan?
And you know what? 10 years is a long time. It goes by quick, but it's a long time. It's not like it's next month or in 6 months. Right now we can relax, we can enjoy Portugal. Of course, we have an eye to the future as always. We're always planning and scheming and think we want to do, but really, ultimately, we don't know what the future holds for us. Who knows? We could become Portuguese citizens and that opens up the European Union to us. We might have grandkids one day and want to be closer to them and spend more time and kind of come back and forth. Who knows? We're going to do what's best for us and for our family, and that's what you should do as well. You should do what's best for you over the course of 10 years. We'll know what that is as the time comes to it.
And an important thing to add to that is after the 10 years, you need to move out of Portugal. And after 5 years of not paying taxes in Portugal, you can once again trigger the NHR scheme after a period of 5 years of not being a Portuguese tax resident. So who knows, we could leave for 5 and be back.
Exactly. Moving abroad, retiring abroad, living out in the world, that all involves learning new things. So a huge shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring our video and for helping us learn new skills out in the world. Do you have a specific skill you're trying to learn? Skillshare is the perfect place to start. We have learned so much to incorporate into our retirement. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes, from personal finances to photography to self-care, even gardening, and so much more. Invest in yourself and your personal growth like I did. I took a course on video editing with Final Cut Pro on Skillshare.
I've seen monthly favorites videos before. I'll link some of mine in the projects and resources section down below.
For anybody new to creating videos and editing videos, this is the course for you. It teaches you how to create timelines, how to enhance audio, how to color correct. It even teaches you how to organize your files and where to upload them to. It teaches you the basics on transitions and all the little tips and tricks that go into creating a great video. This was a great start for me. If you are interested in exploring the Skillshare library, click on our link in the description box below. The first 1,000 people will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. How great is that?
Another question we often get, do you feel restricted living on such a small island?
I don't think we find Madeira small. Funchal is a nice sized city. I mean, it's not New York or Lisbon or Paris, but it's a big enough city that there's things to do, places to go, restaurants we've never tried, places we've never been. And Madeira doesn't feel like a small island. There's different communities all around the island, and they each have their different places and different things about them. And so we're still exploring and enjoying. And we've been here a year, and honestly, we have not seen the whole island.
No, we haven't. There's, every time you go across a different valley or around a corner over a hilltop, it's a different community, it's a different climate. It does not seem like a small island at all. There's lots to explore, as Monique said. But even in Funchal, there's concerts all the time. There's lots of things going on. This past year has gone by in a blur, and I expect it'll continue to be like that.
And we love plane travel, so for us to hop on a plane and fly to the mainland or elsewhere is something we really enjoy doing and something we wanted for the second half of our lives. So we don't feel restricted here on Madeira. Another question we often get, and we did get from one of our Patreon supporters, was what was it that you were looking for in your second half of life? How would you describe the balance that you were looking for?
We were just looking for a comfortable middle-class retirement with travel. We wanted to have enough to live comfortably, plus a little bit more. We wanted to have the freedom to leave Madeira, go to the mainland, travel abroad, and just explore the world. We love to explore. We've done a lot in the past. We weren't looking to live in one place and not go anywhere. Just comfortable enough and a little bit more.
We also were looking for a healthy lifestyle, somewhere where we can go hiking and walking and exploring, as well as we like being, as you know, we like having a minimalist sort of frugal type lifestyle as we're exploring things like home exchange. We're exploring other ways of doing things and keeping things simple. And that's something that we were working towards and that I think we're accomplishing. Our next question from our Patreon supporters was, is it okay when you first get to Portugal to not read or speak the language? Can you get by?
Absolutely. Portugal is so forgiving when it comes to not speaking their language. I think they know that their language is hard. Every time we apologize for not speaking the language, we say, it's okay, it's okay. It's a very hard language. And we're like, yeah, no kidding, it's a very hard language. We're doing what we can. We're using an app. We're speaking with, through immersion, we're speaking with people around us. We're picking it up slowly, but they speak enough English that we can get by, and often we have to apologize to them for apologizing to us because they think their English isn't good enough. And we're like, it's fine. Your English is way better than our Portuguese. Very accommodating, very easy to communicate, and it's a little bit fun as well.
Absolutely. And another thing for language learning in general is that you will start reading more before you start speaking. You'll pick up the hello, goodbyes, thank yous, but you'll also start reading. It is a tricky language. We've talked about this before, but you will start being able to read signs and menus and that kind of thing as well. So it comes to you whether you're trying to or not, but like Doug said, it is absolutely okay to get by on English.
And just a follow-up question we had was, are there other resources to learn the language beyond the app, whether it's in person or in school? Are there other ways to learn the language other than just using online resources?
And of course there are other ways. Doug talked about one before, just the whole idea of immersion is obviously one of the best ways when you're actually talking to people and having repeat conversations. So that's another way. If we do plan on going for citizenship, one of the levels that we have to attain is called an A2 language level, which is a little more than basic. You have to be able to carry on an easy conversation. And they do offer courses at the university, and there's lots of people that you can even have one-on-one classes with. They're easy to find if you're looking for that. So the answer is absolutely, there are things beyond the app to learn the language. The next question we get often, what are the different neighborhoods of Funchal? What are they called? What are the pros and cons of living in all the different neighborhoods?
Funchal has a lot of different little neighborhoods. They're small, but they're all part of the Funchal Bowl, we call it. And we're actually going to do a video coming up where we explore some of the different neighborhoods to give you an idea, if you were moving to Funchal or coming to visit, what some of the different neighborhoods would look like, what the view is, and what the area is like for you, the restaurants, everything like that. Portugal has what they call a NIF number, Numero Fiscal. Just shows you how bad our Portuguese is right now. It's basically your tax number, and you use your tax number, you give it for almost all your purchases, whether it's gas, groceries, anything big, and it's to do with your taxation at the end of the year. We get asked, do you have to give your NIF number when you make purchases, and do you keep all your receipts?
So that's a really good question. You do need the NIF number to do a lot of government kind of things. When you're opening a bank account or anything like that, they do ask for your NIF and you give it. For grocery shopping, our NIF is now attached to our discount card, so it's given all the time. Do we keep receipts? No. I think if you are paying Portuguese taxes, which are quite high, Portuguese people tend to keep all the receipts. They do give their NIF number every single time because there are discounts for taxes. I was looking and I think even like beauty services have discounts, groceries have discounts, all sorts of things, and it plays into tax time. And using their NIF also can give you, I think, access to a lottery that they have going on in Portugal. For us, not knowing yet what we're going to pay in Portuguese taxes, we're looking into that now. We've been giving our NIF number, either Doug's or mine. We're not sure how that really plays into it. We're not looking for any huge tax breaks using the NIF number. Our next question from our Patreon supporter, how do you get past being seen constantly as a long-term tourist and sort of integrate into life in a new country, in a new city with a new language? What are some of the tips and tricks?
I think, if you go to any of the sites around Funchal or some of the places around Madeira, the fact that we speak English and we look foreign, we're always going to be treated like a tourist a little bit. If it comes up in conversation, we're talking to people and they ask, where you're from, we say, well, we live here. And, of course, we live in a neighborhood that's not right in the hotel zone. It's not in the tourist zone. So that makes a difference as well. But when you're shopping and you're giving your NIF number, when you're doing your banking, you get more into the day-to-day things that the locals do. And as we pick up the language and we meet more people locally, we just become immersed more in the local culture and makes us less of tourists anyways.
And I think repeat visits to the same place, if you're going to the same Pingo Doce and you start seeing the same cashier, you kind of start developing those little relationships that you do with your daily people in your life. So that takes away from that touristy feel. But I think you're seen more as a tourist than me. I get asked if I'm Portuguese a lot.
She looks more Portuguese than I do. So we walk in together and they look at me and then they look at Monique and they start speaking Portuguese to her to translate for me, but then they soon realize that she can't do any better than me.
I have to up my game. And our last question that we got asked, and we think it was a really great one, why Madeira over the Algarve?
That's a big one. Ultimately, and in reality, Portugal in general has so many beautiful places, from Porto to the Silver Coast, to Lisbon, to Algarve, to Madeira, to the Azores. How do you choose? Really, you could go to any of them and feel comfortable and enjoy them all. We love the Algarve. We love it more in the summer. We love Lisbon and we love Madeira. I think you just love where you are and enjoy where you are and make the most of it. But if you had to settle in one place, we had our reasons. The Algarve kind of closes down in the winter time and it's much quieter, it's much cooler. Whereas here in Madeira, of course, it's nice year round.
And I think if we were to compare sort of mainland for us and Madeira, we would be more in the Madeira versus Lisbon, the Madeira versus Algarve for us. So we love being in Madeira in the wintertime. The weather, you can't top it. It's sunny, it's beautiful. And we love Lisbon, we love that city vibe. Having said that, we've never been to Porto. We haven't been up to Braga. There's so many other places that we haven't been. We'll probably love them all.
And I think you're just hitting on it exactly. Really, there's so many nice places here in Portugal. How do you choose what's best? You go there, you visit them, you get a feel for them, and you pick what's best for you. But even if you pick one, doesn't mean the other one isn't great, and you could spend a lot of time there as well. And that's what's great about a second half of life here in retirement and moving abroad and being out and about in the world is we just settle in and feel comfortable wherever we go and make the best of it and really enjoy it.
Get to know Monique and I at Track Us Down even better by watching this personal background Q&A video.
And as always, please check back in and
track us down.